Hello.
Hey Sean, how are you?
I'm still breathing.
Okay, so I think the last time I talked to you was probably about 2 or 3 months ago.
Um, I don't actually remember talking to you. We might have messaged each other on a post, though.
Um, you had showed me some videos that whenever the cops were harassing you and they were trying to get you for that girl.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember those. So what has happened since then?
Well, I've been gang stalked by police. They've done everything in their power to. When I tried to go in and show them evidence, they went out of their way to try to discredit me by taking me to mental facilities and having me injected with drugs.
Okay. Um, I know that Patricia and I have talked about your case, but after her dad got sick, things kind of got put on the back burner.
Yes, ma'am. That happened a lot. There was a lot of people who wanted to help me, but their family issues ended up getting in the way. And the police, they wrote down, first of all, they didn't call any of the witnesses. They made no effort to investigate any of it. I know Patricia was invited to a couple of groups that I was in, and she got to see a lot of the gang stalking, a lot of the threats, things like that. Um, but also, like, a lot of people, the police said that nobody was willing to go in with me, probably because the way that I act. And I have video evidence, recorded phone calls with a lot of people that prove that these people tried to go in. The police absolutely refused to look at any evidence of police wrongdoing or of the harassment and bullying against me, because if they had looked at it, then that would lend validity to what I was saying, and then they would have to look into the police officers in their wrongdoing.
Now, didn't you move several different times because of all this?
I've moved over 30 times in the last 3 years.
Okay. And where are you at now?
I'm back in Chapel, Nebraska. That's one of the places where I'm victimized because of the slander. See, that's the thing, is that a lot of these people who hate me,
Yeah.
they think that I did bad shit that I was never allowed to defend myself against. So
But you were proven that you didn't do it.
it was proven that I didn't kill Natalie. However, the gang stalking did not end there, and the gang stalking started before Natalie was killed. And when I went to Kayla Trujillo's house on the 26th, that was the fourth time that I had gone to her house to get help about the gang stalking. There was also a woman named Joanna Taylor Smith and her boyfriend Derek Parrish, who I had attempted to get to help. And they said that they would, but like with many people, they have their own personal lives, first of all, but second of all, they are like many people today, they're fixated on Facebook memes. They think that a Facebook meme is going to fix everything. If they tell me these pretty words, then magically all of my problems will go away. If I have a change of mind, then magically all of these problems will go away. But the fact is, I'm disabled, and my disability money was. I couldn't take care of myself before Natalie was killed because my disability money was stolen. I literally couldn't show up to the court date because my money was stolen. Also, due to the fact that I didn't understand how protection orders worked, I was prevented from going. I didn't even bother to read the stuff because I was supposed to be getting a lawyer through Colorado Coalition of the Homeless with a guy named Jeff Ritter. I came to find out later that because Jeff Ritter did not report the abuse and neither did Kara Heller, that they are actually criminally negligent, which is the reason that they won't return my calls.
Okay, and this is supposed to be your attorney?
No, ma'am. This is my caseworker and my therapist in Colorado, the ones that I had before Natalie was killed.
Okay.
I actually had 3 different therapists. There was Jeff Ritter, Nicole Peralta, and another Nicole whose last name I can't remember at the moment. But she lived in Netherland, Colorado. We almost dated at one point in time, actually, which is kind of weird because that's part of the reason that she turned me on to Jeff Ritter, is because since me and Nicole had almost dated once, not Nicole Peralta, but the other one, that there was kind of a conflict of interest there.
All right. So what you need from them is their statements that they've neglected.
Yes, ma'am. I needed to be able to, because see, the courts claimed that I wasn't trying to, the police in specific slandered my name repeatedly. If they'd have talked to the witnesses, they'd have known that I was telling the truth, but they already knew I was telling the truth. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone out of their way to slander me in the courtroom and slander me on court documents, which means that each of these officers who took part in it is a felon. Gang stalking is actually a federal offense. They can be imprisoned for up to 10 years, which gives them motive for committing the crimes that they've committed.
So, do you have an attorney?
I do not. I don't even have a mailing address. My income, because I am disabled, my income was stolen from me because of everything that happened. The more abuse that I took, because this abuse isn't going to stop unless I fight it, and I'm actually able to get to court and be able to show evidence in court. They first, I went to over 20 court dates between when Natalie disappeared and when I ultimately had to commit a crime in order to force the FBI to take a look. I'd already made hundreds of phone calls to different agencies, the FBI, different police agencies, and all that evidence was on phones that I tried hard to force the police to look at. But like here in Chapel, Nebraska, the only agencies I could take it to is the state patrol or the Dual County Sheriff's Department. The problem is that the Dual County Sheriff's Department didn't do their job before Natalie was killed, and it ultimately resulted in Natalie's death. Despite the fact that it was a suicide, the fact is that both me and Natalie, both of our lives ended because police would not do their jobs. At least one of the officers that was supposed to be in Natalie's case in Broomfield, his name is Officer Burke. He was let go from the Denver Police Department because of misconduct, and he was hired by the Longmont Police Department. Another officer, Officer Waylon Lolatai, who had assaulted me, had assaulted somebody in the Denver Police Department. He had been let go because of misconduct and was hired on by the Border Police Department. Both of these are within Boulder County jurisdiction, but also I needed to get a case against the Boulder County Sheriff's Office due to the fact that I was assaulted repeatedly inside of their jails. So, as far as going to the police in any of these jurisdictions, I literally have to go to the people who abused me to try to get them to take a report against the abuse. And that's where a lot of this is a big major issue, is they did everything in their power to prevent me from showing evidence, up to and including stealing evidence and taking it to the evidence locker to prevent me from being able to use it in court, and also having me committed repeatedly and drugged repeatedly to basically try to make it so that if I went to court against any of these officers, they could say, oh, well, he's crazy.
And all this occurred in North Carolina?
No, ma'am. This actually started in Chesapeake, Virginia, and most of this took place in Boulder County, Colorado, and in Dual County, Nebraska.
Okay, so this is the best way to go about this. But we have to go back to where it all started. Okay.
I did go back there. I went back there last year. I ended up having to stay with a meth head in order to do it, but I didn't know he was on meth at the time.
I'm talking about story-wise.
Yes, ma'am.
So you need to get a hold of the Bureau investigation.
I've done that. They refused to take a phone call from me, refused to do any investigating because of the term mentally ill, and also because the things that have happened since Natalie's death, the repeated institutionalization and abuse in those institutions, gives them an excuse not to look at it. I literally have to have somebody in my corner to validate these facts. I've got hundreds of phone calls recorded on my YouTube channel, as well as a lot of stuff from these different periods of time on my Facebook that show what was going on. But they brush me off. They give me the mentally ill treatment every single time.
Okay. Well, you don't sound mentally ill. You sound very clear spoken, and you sound like you are speaking nothing but facts. Because you can't make up something that is true, and you are clearly speaking with educational words. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I grew up in the system, and I'm aware of the abuse that happens there because I grew up in it. I've literally spent my life, my entire adult life, fighting this so that it doesn't happen to others. I have hundreds of stories from other people who have endured this abuse as well, just not to the same degree.
Now,
I mean, the
now
first
what?
time my abuse started in the system was in Boulder County at a place called Centennial Peaks Mental Hospital.
Right. So, if there are doctors there at the hospital, don't you have to go through counseling with them?
No, see, that's the thing is that they tried to set me up with all sorts of stuff to work with their doctors who work closely with the police and are friends with the police, and I opted to go to different therapists. I opted to go to uh, Nicole Peralta, and there's a woman named Kayla Trujillo who actually was helping me to get a therapist there in Longmont after I was assaulted by Officer Burke in the Longmont Hospital.
So, because you can, okay, so if they're saying that you're mentally ill, who's your keeper? Like, do you have a point of attorney or
I
anybody?
don't. I've been prevented from having any of that. I haven't had the money or the mental capacity to take care of any of that. I have crippling panic attacks and meltdowns due to the PTSD from all of this.
Uh, but okay, so
I did have a caseworker that was supposed to work with me on that. One of them here named Tamara, who quit her job after hearing my story because her son is autistic. I had one named Kara Heller in Denver, Colorado, and because she was negligent in doing her job, she has not returned any of my calls. Plus, she had a baby right after Natalie was killed. There's also one here in Nebraska who is the replacement for Tamara, and her name is Jen Beebe. The police here in Chapel, Nebraska knew that I was pursuing them for their criminal negligence and also for the crimes of covering it up. So they lied to her and claimed that I had reached for their gun and had attempted to suicide by cop in order to get her to have me committed.
well, where's their proof? Where's the body cams on?
Well, see, that's the thing is that I am trying to get that, but I need to get an investigation started. And with the term mentally ill, they absolutely refuse to do anything. They give me the mentally ill treatment, which is to ship me away. Now, I want my life to end because of all of this, but I'm not attempting suicide. And every time that I tried to go into the police, they used the suicide watch in order to prevent me from showing evidence, prevent me from making statements. I actually have a phone call recorded with Officer Amanda Jonas where she says that her body camera was off. I need somebody in my corner in order to get any of this started. Jen Beebe said that she was going to help me with this, but she hasn't returned my call in over a week. She did try to call me last week, might have been the week before, but like I was up all night having a panic attack, and I had been up all night the day before, or all the day before. So I passed out and missed her phone call, and I've made at least 3 phone calls to her since. She just hasn't returned my calls.
Okay, and that so she's the one that you need to get in contact with at the moment, right?
She's one of them.
Okay.
The fact is, because the gang stalking happened across multiple jurisdictions, and also because my public pretenders as well as judges were also involved in the cover up, I get treated like I'm some sort of alien conspiracy theorist who wears a tinfoil hat.
Right.
I'm
Um.
not saying anything about Illuminati or aliens or anything like that. I mean, these people all have very real human motivation for covering up their crimes because they could all potentially go to prison for what they've done.
Right. Okay. So, what I can do Monday is because a lot of people are not doing anything on the weekends, is get a list together, and I will contact them for you, and to get the ball moving a little bit for you.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
um, so what? But you should have uh, and then they're making it to where you're unfit. You're supposed to have a keeper, someone in your family or somebody that has a power of attorney over you.
Yes, but my family are a bunch of druggies and child molesters. We don't have anything to do with each other.
So, do you have anybody that has power of attorney?
I don't.
Okay, that's what you need.
I've been attempting to do that. I was actually trying to get Natalie Bollinger's mother to be my power of attorney because I wanted her to see the truth.
Right.
I ultimately ended up having to break the law to try to force the FBI to take a look at this because a lot of people tried to come forward, and law enforcement in Colorado and Nebraska here just didn't give a fuck.
Right.
The fact is that since it resulted in Natalie Bollinger's death, they're doing everything in their power to try to hide what they've done. The sheriff here in Chapel, Nebraska, should have been removed 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. They have allowed many of the people who have taken a serious role in the gang stalking, including several officers. One of the officers here in Chapel, Nebraska, by the name of Cody Selhorst, was outright threatening me. Um, and trying to coerce me and intimidate me into leaving town. I had a mental breakdown. I've had repeated mental breakdowns over trying to force the police to do their jobs, and that only works in their favor.
Right. It really does. Because then they can make you look incompetent, and that's what they want to do.
Well, at this point, I am incompetent. I literally, there is too much for me to do myself, especially since, like, a lot of the stuff that I have to do in other people's households. Many of them have drug addiction problems or alcohol addiction problems, and they're very, very volatile. A lot of them are very verbally abusive, and I have actually, because I'm autistic, I end up doing what's called mirroring and also masking. Masking is where I try to act neurotypical so that I'm not abused for not being neurotypical. Mirroring is where I mirror the actions of others. When people slander me or harass me or threaten me or anything like that, those are things that I really have to steer away from. So, I mean, unless it's an extreme situation, I don't do any of that. But there's also the harassment part where if I am harassed, I will harass somebody back. If I am being harassed by a group, I will harass whoever the ringleader is until they get the point. But the thing is that I only did that and have only had to do that because police will not do their job. And I've noticed that um, even a lot of the people that said that they would help me because of their addiction problems, they were unable to or unwilling to. And then I'm the bad guy because I'm saying, hey, you didn't keep your word.
Right. Well, people suck, and a lot of people let others down. So I understand that. But I will do what I can to help by making phone calls for you. It's a little hard to do much more because you're not here.
Yes,
And
ma'am. That's
if
one
you
of the
were
biggest
here, I could have
roadblocks I've
gotten you
had.
a private investigator.
A lot of the people who are trying to work with me, they were prevented from helping me out and going in person with me because they live in different states. They weren't able to travel to help me. Also, um, some of the people that had claimed that they were going to help me ended up. It turned out that they weren't trying to help me. They were taking part in the gang stalking, and some of the other people that were trying to help me ended up not being help at all because between the gang stalkers and listening to me, I'm the one who's considered mentally ill, and they just assumed my guilt.
Well, I've known about your story. I've heard it from Patricia as well, and just well, I will do what I can by making phone calls, but we need to look into getting you somebody that has a power of attorney over you. That's otherwise we're really not going to get far on anything because otherwise they'll keep using everything that they have. They'll keep doing it until you get somebody with power of attorney.
Yes, ma'am. That's something that I've been trying to do. I mean, I would honestly, seriously let Rose M. Kelly be my power of attorney. I literally would, even to this day. I believe that she deserves to know that the things that happened to her daughter really didn't need to happen. They happened due to police negligence, and she deserves to know what her family and her family's friends did to me as well. She deserves to know that her daughter didn't deserve this, and neither did I.
Does she not know?
Well, that's the thing is that she knows what Ted Bollinger is. She knows that he's a child molester. She knows that he's a fucking monster with no remorse for any of the things that he's done. But also, she didn't take the time to look at any of the evidence. She never gave me her phone number. She never gave me her email address, and I had to rely.
So she doesn't want anything to do with you?
No, ma'am, she doesn't.
Okay, well, you're going to have to respect that. I know that's hard, but you're going to have to.
Well, as far as allowing her to know what's going on, I'm absolutely fine with leaving her alone,
Yeah.
especially since there's a protection order in that case. But also, there's the fact that that protection order is illegal. I was illegally prevented from going to court, and that's one of the tactics that they use to prevent me from showing evidence and from speaking out about what's happened. That's
Right.
one of the crimes that I commit is I continue to speak out about that because I was not allowed an honest day in court. I was not even allowed to go to that court date. I was illegally prevented from going, and I wasn't even served a protection order in that case.
Do you have a cease and desist or a gag?
I do have a gag.
You do. By whom?
That was in the protection order. I'm not allowed to speak about them or the situation.
Okay. All right. Well, okay, so we'll contact that person on Monday and whoever else, just make a list and we'll I'll write down everything that I'm gonna say to them and then you can agree or disagree or add or subtract whatever's in the speech that I'm gonna give. And then we are going to find somebody that's going to be power of attorney, and then you need to get either a private investigator with the person that has your power of attorney, or you need to go and have that person help you file with the DA's office to get a court mandated attorney.
I've
Do you have any
attempted that.
cases coming up?
Well, that's part of the situation. A lot of the tactics that they used in order to prevent me from showing evidence is my public pretenders literally wouldn't do their jobs. I had court cases that I was illegally prevented from going to because of incarceration. I was incarcerated, so therefore I couldn't show up in these other court dates, and they were able to use that to my public pretender did not get a hold of any of the other public pretenders to get that cleared up. And as a result, I couldn't turn in any of these officers. They did everything in their power and pulled every dirty trick that they could to prevent me from showing the evidence and also threatening, harassing, and intimidating anybody who tried to help me.
Well, it's really hard to intimidate me. So
Well, you're all the way in Georgia, so it's difficult for them to even get a hold of you. Also, the FBI took part in the cover up in Longmont, Colorado. Kayla Trujillo was going to go in with me, and like at the last minute, she was afraid to go in because she had her youngest son with her. And as a result, I went in, and even with at least 8 law enforcement officers in there from 4 or 5 different agencies, none of them had their body cameras on, not one.
Well, uh, you would always record yourself. Always just do your own recordings like you have been.
Yes,
Like
ma'am.
always.
A
Like
lot of
even
times I haven't had the ability to do that due to either my phones being too full of evidence to actually record anything, or due to the police stealing evidence, which prevented me from accessing it. Like the computer that I have now, the police in Rawlins, Wyoming held it hostage in order to prevent their wrongdoing from being shown in court. They were threatening to send it to Colorado, where I have warrants out for my arrest. So I literally can't go to Colorado to file with the DA there. And since this is a federal thing, because it is gang stalking and it's gang stalking by multiple groups, it does need to be taken to a federal court. The problem is that they use my panic attacks and the stuff that they worked together with the hospitals to prevent me from being able to speak out. That's been used to prevent me from being able to do anything for myself. I am disabled and I had disability money coming in, but like I said, none of my public pretenders were willing to do their jobs. And I have some statements written by witnesses, including in the jails, and you have no idea how difficult it is to get jail
huh.
inmates to write statements against the guards. I mean,
Oh,
it's
I
fucked up.
understand. Uh,
Um,
well, okay. So let's get that list together.
yes,
Let
ma'am.
contact whomever to. All you have to do is go to the courthouse to file. It's it's really simple. A power of attorney, and I think there's a fee, and if there is one, I think it's like $25.
Well, I literally have no income. They took away my disability
Right.
money because of the incarceration, and then they refused to give it back because I have warrants.
Okay.
But also, I don't have anyone to turn over my power of attorney to. I have 2 friends in town that actually talk to me. They're both alcoholics, and it's very difficult. The guy that
Okay.
I'm staying with has some mental trauma of his own, which makes it so that he's not competent to do such a thing. I literally have no one.
Okay. How about you go and talk to a church? Have you thought
Um,
about that? Get involved in a church, make some friends there, and maybe you can come across somebody that you can trust eventually to get that power of attorney.
there's a woman named Molly Smith, and she works at Pump and Pantry here right now. She's literally the only person who ever actually went in with me to talk to the police. She's also a witness that the police didn't try to investigate it at all. The thing is that Molly just had knee surgery, so she's out for 6 to 8 weeks, and I don't
Yeah.
know as if she'll be able to be my power of attorney. There's also one of her sons. I don't know him well, but he used to date a former friend of mine until she had some major issues and really screwed me over, stole my tools, things of that nature. And I don't know. I can talk to her about him possibly doing that because he's been screwed by the court system as well. The problem is, like I've been saying, that power attorney thing that you've been saying. I've been trying to do that for 3 years, ever since I left Virginia and the gang stalking started. Like I didn't even make it out of Virginia before the the lady who started spreading the rumors in Boulder, Colorado, that I was ultimately assaulted, threatened, and had my first nervous breakdowns about. Her name is Maddie Boa, and she and I had talked in on my way out of Virginia, and she had let me know that some of the slander that was being spoken about me. She told me that Alicia Bollinger said to her that I had threatened her and her family, which is not the case. And also that I had stalked them and that I was creepy. And she told me never to contact her again. So I was actually fine with that. And I was hoping that that would be the end of it. But the thing is, I went back to Boulder, Colorado, and it followed me there. At first, people were accusing me of threatening Natalie and her family, and telling me that Maddie Boa was the one that was saying it. Now, mind you, I have evidence that Maddie Boa was a meth dealer, that she got busted for methamphetamines, and a lot of the stuff that this is is from her meth customers. That prevented me from seeing my friends and family in Boulder. And like people said, Sean, you need to walk away. And I'm like, I did walk away. I left Virginia. I left those heroin junkies to their junk in Chesapeake, Virginia. I went to Boulder, Colorado to see my loved ones, and it followed me there. And I left Boulder, Colorado, and came here to Chapel, Nebraska, and it followed me here. I'm like, hey, I can't see my older brother, and I get that he's on drugs, but he's still my older brother, and I still love him, and I still miss him, along with a lot of my other friends. But also, many of them hate me because of the slander that happened, and also because of the outcome of the court dates I was illegally prevented from going to. Like this gang stalking was across the entire state of Colorado. Most of the issues that I have started in Colorado, and I knew Natalie and Alicia from Colorado. I knew them from Boulder. They were selling drugs for their dad when I first met them at 13, but I didn't learn their names until they were 18. We didn't start hanging out until they were 18. Before that, I just knew them because they were friends with mutual friends of ours, and most of them, like I said, they're drug addicts, and I help them because even though they're drug addicts, they're still human beings to me. Also, every time somebody freezes to death in Boulder, Colorado, the police get to use that as an excuse to crack down on homeless people, and most of these homeless people that they're cracking down on are not they're not drug dealers, and they're not, the troublemakers. They need the troublemakers out there. They don't bother any of the troublemakers unless it's a very serious situation, because the more of those troublemakers who are homeless are out there making trouble, the more excuse they have to go after homeless people and the more funding they get from it.
Right? Yep.
One of their one of their common tactics is when people try to turn in the Border Police will immediately arrest any of the witnesses under bullshit, bogus charges. And that automatically discredits them because now they're criminals. And what jury wants to listen to a criminal?
Well, everybody has rights, even if you make mistakes in life.
Well, I didn't make those mistakes until my rights had been completely violated. I mean, my constitutional rights at no point in time were ever observed. And the thing is that the gang stalking didn't involve my public pretenders. My public pretenders were involved in the cover up. And for most of them, it's just a matter of not wanting to do their job because of overwhelming caseloads. But that's the thing, is that they get paid whether they win a case or not, and they're not willing to push the fact that they can't possibly defend all of their clients. They have to rely on plea deals in order to get many of these cases off their desk. In Arapahoe County, I mean, most of the people that I was locked up with were homeless. They prey on us exclusively. America doesn't want to see poverty. And Boulder is even worse because Boulder is full of rich people and rich college students. CSU is where you go if you go to a major college and you're not a rich kid. Boulder is where you go if you're like Hugh Hefner's daughter and things like that. I mean, you are a really rich person if you're going to Boulder, or you're there on a scholarship.
Now, have you ever looked into on Facebook groups if there's any kind of groups that have to do with the cops ganging up on people and then doing all this to them?
I have. There's one that I've actually been in contact with. He's got a group that's also on YouTube. It's called Colorado Donkey Watch. But a lot of those people that are in his groups, they're trolls. And as soon as they see the slander, because you can type my name on the internet and see the slander against me and the hatred and the fact that only one side was ever shown. My Facebook, now that you're friends with me on Facebook, there's a lot of that evidence that you have access to that I've been trying to get out to the public. And like I said, I'm just completely overwhelmed. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not able to do. There's so much of it that I literally cannot get an honest court date ever again. I've had everything stolen from me repeatedly, my vehicles repeatedly, and police officers are getting away with it because they're turning off their body cameras. Also, there's a lot of evidence that they have never returned to me, and there's also, like I said, a lot of instances where my phone was just too full to even record anything.
Well, they have this app now that can help you with recordings.
I'm computer inept. I only have a Facebook because I had somebody help me set it up. I only have a YouTube because somebody helped me set it up.
Okay. Well, I was gonna because I know apps that pay you if you I do them as well, and I was gonna send you those, but if I send them to you, will you be able to? I can walk you through it.
If you can walk me through it, I might be able to. There's a lady named Katie Cahill, and she's a witness to a lot of the gang stalking that I've endured. She's mad at me for being mad at her, but she actually helped me to be able to take screenshots on my phone in November of 2018.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and send you this. Let me find the app. I'm gonna send it to you on your Facebook, and I'll help you walk through it.
And it's an app for my telephone, or
No, it's a app. Yeah, it's an app for your phone, and I'm gonna show you how to make money with it. Okay.
yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna send it to you right
I
now.
don't have a bank account.
You can do PayPal, and they can give you a card. I'll show you.
I had PayPal. I don't have an address to have stuff mailed to. But as far as PayPal goes, I had a PayPal account. I used it for making some $1 purchases. The problem is that although they took the money out of my bank account immediately, they held it for 5 days. And as a result, I ended up owing 200 and something dollars to Wells Fargo and also money to PayPal for a bunch of really cheap purchases. And I had to have somebody help me out with that even. And I can't go through all of that again. That sent me into a severe panic attack too. That
this right here, it doesn't go to your bank account. What they do is they do send you a PayPal card, and it's money that you earned off of the internet.
Okay.
And so if you're able to set the PayPal up to where you can receive this card, it's like a Visa card, so you can use it just like a regular debit card, and it won't let you overdraft if you don't have it.
Would you be able to help me to set that up as well?
Yeah. So
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
That's something that a lot of people aren't understanding. I mean, 10 million people telling me to do stuff that I'm not capable of doing. I try these things on my own, and it ends up costing me a lot of money. Like PayPal cost me almost $500 altogether because I had to try to do it myself. The first time that I tried setting up YouTube so that I could actually have my own channel, it ended up screwing up YouTube on my computer. So I had to actually basically start my computer over from scratch and be able to do it that way.
Okay. So go click on that I just sent you.
All right. F for Facebook. It gives me Facebook notices when people send me stuff. That's what that ding was.
Okay.
Can you see the hidden number? Yes, it's 1984. Share if I see it. No, I'm not going to share that. Um, ah, I didn't mean for that gang stalking thing. I didn't realize it was a promotion or spam. I was trying to.
Oh, that's fine. It's just I had to remove it because a lot of people would, start questioning because we're trying to expose the schools and how they go about, reporting things, and then just schools in general about bullying and sexual, all the stuff.
The
I
stuff
have a
that I
private
went through growing up.
investigator that we're trying to break open the schools because they get grant money for not if
For not
by their
doing their
safety in their
job.
schools. Huh?
They get grant money for the bullying so they can do something about it. And instead of using that money to actually do something about the bullying, they have programs like where the police will come in and talk about bullying, and then the school says, oh well, we spent that money to do something about bullying, and really that's not what it's for. It's not for a
No.
police officer to come in and talk to them so they can say we use that money. It's so that money can actually be used to set policies in place and also hire people in order to prevent that bullying from happening to begin with.
Right. Well, see, they also, if a school doesn't report it, then they get money by their safety of their school. So they're falsifying how they're doing stuff. Okay, so did you open that app or download that app that I sent you?
Well, since I'm talking to you on my phone, I can't actually open the app on my phone, so I have it open on my computer. It's
Okay.
called staticcrymoney.com. Is that right?
It's supposed to, yeah, it's pocket account. Just click on to present.
I clicked on it, and this is what it took me to. It says earn real money easily, find tasks at 1,000
Yeah.
plus advertisers, get paid with PayPal or Amazon, share, and something. I don't know.
Okay, so once you download that, then I'll walk you through how to do it.
All right, so I need to download that on my phone, right?
Yeah, it's better if you do it on your phone. Can you put me on speaker and do it?
Well, I'm gonna have to hang up on you on my phone and have you call me via Facebook Messenger in order to be able to do this.
Okay, let's do that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm hanging up and I'll call you on Facebook.
I might need to set up a PayPal first in order to do this.
No, you can set up PayPal next.
All right.
So, all right, I'm calling you on Facebook.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye.
Let's see if there's enough room to even save it. All right. It's wanting me to download via the Apple App Store. All right, because I have an Android. Will that still work?
It should. All you have to do is click on that picture that I sent you.
Yep.
And then it should take you directly to the App Store.
It took me to the advertisement and it says download at App Store. Zhao Chen, Days Taker, App Store preview.
I'm going to show you what the app looks like. Just a second. I'm going to take a screenshot and send it to you.
Okay. It says seller is Zhao Chen. Is that right?
I don't know what that is. It says
Yeah,
the app looks like. It's called Pocket Account. I'm sending it to you. messenger. It's the one that,
It says iMoney.
one second. I'm going to send you the screenshot of it. It's going to be the one, let me edit it. It's, okay. It's the one at the last row, and it's the one on the left. It says pocket count. That's what it's supposed to look like.
All right.
Okay, so download that one.
Let me hit the picture itself. Solitaire cash.
No, pocket count. It's the last one. It looks like a bag with stars on it.
All right. This is not going anywhere.
Are you able to FaceTime where I can see what it looks like?
I'm not sure what FaceTime is, but if you're talking about it, if you want to call me back and I'll show you the app on my phone, I'll hold it up to the camera. You can call me back that way.
On your personal phone?
No, if you call me back on my personal phone, I won't be able to do any of this.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think so. So let me, one second. I'm working at the same time I'm talking to you.
That's all right.
Say again?
I said that's all right. I got to make sure my computer doesn't die. Downstairs, it's the guy that I'm staying with. He watches TV, and I can't actually pay attention to somebody else and the TV at the same time because I gather up too much information because I'm gathering both information from you and from the TV, and then I get overwhelmed.
I'm gonna see if this FaceTime works. Hold on.
All right. Oh my God!
That's requesting video.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who wanted to help me and ended up having a lot of family issues, just like Patricia did. And like one of the ladies, her name is Erin. Her son broke his jaw, but
It's not letting me FaceTime you.
well, let's hang up this call and try a video call, and we'll see if that works.
All right, well, call me on video call.
Yes, ma'am. There's a lot of issues that people don't understand about sensory overload. One of the ladies that I was staying with, her name is Shannon, and her daughter is autistic. So, did I lose you?
No, I'm still here. I just had to doing something else on my phone.
All right. But her daughter is autistic and has sensory overload issues. For her daughter is what's called immodal, which means she can't speak. So she can't explain to her mom what's going on with it. I did try to explain it to her. Her mom doesn't understand it. She doesn't understand that her alcoholism and all of her very loud noises makes it very difficult to get any of this done. Um, but you know how alcoholics get. You know they have oxygen deprivation to the brain as soon as they start drinking, and then they get on a one-track mind and they don't hear what other people are saying. It basically makes an unselfish person into a very selfish person. Let me start this over. I'll show you. This is the. Can you see the link?
All I see is a bright light.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
All right.
So click on that.
Okay.
And then, yeah, download that.
It says App Store. Is that right? Or do I just click on this? App Store.
I'll ask you to download it.
It takes me to this Zhao Chen thing.
Go down.
Okay. Is this it?
No.
Okay.
Let me go see. Hold on. Let me go on there where you're at and see why is it taking you to that. I want to go click on it.
Yes, ma'am. See, that's stuff where a lot of people don't get why I'm frustrated. Like they think that I should be able to just magic it up. And I encounter every time I get on the internet, I encounter issues like this. And then people that I'm talking to, they get frustrated because they think that I should be able to magic it up and make it work. And I just end up getting more and more overwhelmed. I've had hundreds of people send me stuff about apps that they want me to connect to.
I'm going to try to do this a different way.
Okay.
All right, now just go to your app store and type this in. Type in Pocket Count.
All right. Let me see if I can exit out of this. No, not photos. It'll be under this. And then play games, play movies, play music, Play Store. It would be under the, because this is Android, it would be under Play Store. Okay. And then apps. And then
type in at the search Pocket Count.
I'm trying to find the search option. Pocket Count. Pocket Cast, Pocket Save, Read, Grow.
Count, Pocket
Count. It doesn't appear to have Pocket Count for Android.
They don't have it?
No, ma'am.
Oh, that bites. Maybe that's the problem. Okay. Well, let me give you another one. I swear that they had it.
See, this is what I need, people who are actually willing to understand and actually work with me instead of just telling me to do stuff and getting frustrated when I can't. Because then I end up frustrated and overwhelmed, and then I'm the bad guy because I'm frustrated and overwhelmed. And then they start cursing, and then I start cursing, and then I'm the bad guy for cursing.
No, you're fine. There's this one that I'm trying right now. Having trouble. One second. I'm trouble looking for something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is strange. I'm glad that you're being patient with me because I'm trying to do this too.
Well, I'm generally a pretty patient guy. I mean, I really have to be overwhelmed in order to have a meltdown Also, because I had one yesterday. Um, when you come down from a severe meltdown like that, your body releases a lot of chemicals that prevent you from feeling that. It's kind of a safety mechanism to make sure that you can do something other than freeze in terror. And when I was diagnosed with this stuff, like when they first tried telling me that I was autistic when I was like 7 or 8, I didn't want that diagnosis because I saw how autistic people were treated. No matter what they say, no matter what they do, they're always wrong. When people bully them, they're always the one who's wrong. When they defend themselves, they're always the one who's wrong. And doctors don't have any respect for us whatsoever. They put us in the same category as schizophrenics and people with dementia, and we're not even close. But even though I, even though they, treated me like that, I still went and looked this stuff up. When I found out I had Tourette's syndrome, I did some research. When the internet came about, I had been diagnosed with Tourette's, but I'd been able to fight off the diagnosis of autism. I definitely didn't want that over my head. Um, it wasn't until the whole situation with Natalie that I actually really made a fight for that. Although I was supposed to, at 17, be diagnosed with it, um, they told me that I would have to be re diagnosed at 18, so I should wait. But I was in the system, and when you turn 18, they just drop you off with nothing, no resources, nothing at all. Um, so, like when I turned 18, I couldn't get diagnosed. I was just homeless and fucked.
I'm just sending you another one. I'm going to send you this other one. You get paid to walk. If you walk a lot, this would help.
I walked from Bozeman, Montana to Boulder, Colorado in 2005 or 2006, I think. Yes, ma'am. Although I get threatened and harassed, and people throw stuff out their windows at me here in Chapel, Nebraska. So, since I have the safety of a roof over my head here, and also because several of the police officers here are pretty well intent on doing whatever it takes to discredit me by arresting me for whatever, I'm for the most part too afraid to go outside. So I just pace around the house. Let me see.
The one, so I sent you one. It's a game that, like playing games. That one's pretty good. And then, I'm sending you the one for walking around.
All right. I also have a list of other victims. Many of them had their children stolen. I don't know if you are involved at all in the human trafficking and stuff like that, but there's a lot of children and adults now that were children in the system that have gone through that. Um, and I have their names and numbers. Some of them are willing to come forward. They're just not willing to come forward on my YouTube channel. They want actual help, but the other thing is they've been getting the runaround by police too. Some of them have actually police were involved in their cases, and other police officers were, oh, this person would never do this. He's a respectable officer, and it's like, he's a fucking rapist, is what he is.
They know there's a lot of crooked cops in there.
Yep. Well, a lot of these cops, some of them are friends with the cops who are doing this, and some of them are cops who just don't want to lose their jobs. So if you have and it goes from the top down. If you have a crooked sheriff, you end up being crooked. There's a guy I know named Mike Jepson. He's now a sheriff over in eastern Nebraska, but he was a sheriff's deputy here in Chapel, Nebraska, under a crooked officer named Jim Haith. So um, basically Mike was too afraid to do anything as a police officer because he didn't want to lose his job, and he also didn't want to have basically this higher up authority figure smash his ability to be a law enforcement officer. All right, I'm pressing install now. Says waiting for download. Um, Try Google Play Pass for 10 days. Um, it says try free for 10 days, then $4.99 a month. And anytime I click on
There should
those,
be nothing charging.
all right.
It says win real cash, right?
Win real cash. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, click on that.
It's installing right now. Oh my God, it's cold up here. The people who had this house before my friend moved in, um, the people who owned it at first, her name is Megan, and her and some other people that lived here were really into meth. So they sold the wood burning stove and sold the air conditioner and sold everything that they sold the stove. I mean, we have to cook food in the microwave, but he has a electric heater, so we're able to keep one room in the house warm, and this room is not it. Yes, ma'am. I'm shaking and my fingers are frozen, which is making it difficult. All right, I'm pressing open now. Match to win is detected, allowing to send notifications. Click OK. Okay. Match to win, instant $2,500 win.
Yeah, they have several people that win money daily, and I'm at $6 and something. Don't play it that often.
Well, that's some glorious music. It makes me think Jesus is here. Let me turn the volume down. Now it's making me sound like I'm in Hawaii. All right, I turn the volume down. And then do I press let's play?
Yeah, but then you can go ahead and start playing, and then I've already made $6 and something, and at 7 you can cash out. And I'm having trouble sending you this other, because I'm gonna have to send it to your phone.
This is a sweepstakes ticket. Match tickets for a chance to win cash. I'm actually not real big into games, but not games like this anyway.
I'm gonna have to send the one that you walk with to your phone, because when I try to send it to your messenger, it's not letting me.
Yes, ma'am.
Save your phone.
Match 3 of an item to win it. Scratch here, scratch here, scratch here. Oh, I won 50 cents of real cash. That's nice. You've won real cash. To claim your prize, please log in. So I have to log in on Facebook for this?
Yeah, you can. It just saves it. Keeps it to save it just in case for something happening, and you'll always have your money. It'll direct it to connect.
All right.
And I just sent you the whole walking line on your phone.
All right. All right, it just sent me the notice. I'm doing million steps challenge. Okay.
Yeah, believe me, I'm not doing a million step challenge, but I'm rarely get to go anywhere, and I'm at 50 cents. So I'm buying you to this. Can I invite friends?
I got $1,000 scratcher for being referred by a friend. Yeah, let's see if I win anything. Oh, it gave me a bomb. I better not take that to the airport.
Do you like word games? Not really. It's like a word puzzle.
Sure.
Doesn't look like I can refer a friend, but on this one I'm at $15.90, and they let you cash out at $20. So I'm just gonna have to send you. It's called Word Relax. So I'm gonna send that to you where you can find it on your app. That's another one. That pocket count, you don't have that one because you can make about $1.50 a day just for like 20 minutes. It's that.
All right. Well, I'm not really into these kind of games. I'm trying it because it might make some money.
I'll try to find like other stuff that, because not all of them are games,
Okay.
but the word one, it's, I like it, and I know it works. Trickery.
All right. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand, like, just telling me to do something doesn't give me the ability to troubleshoot it. Like with you being able to see it and actually talking to me with it instead of just telling me to do it and getting frustrated with me is a lot more help than I get from most.
Yeah, I won't get frustrated with you. Don't have to bring up that. So, the only time I get frustrated is when people call me when I'm asleep. Other than that, I'm good.
All right.
So, well, no, I can't hear you.
I'm gonna exit out of this. Congratulations, you've won a welcome bonus of $5. Install now. Your reward. Yep. This is it's only available for 1 minute. Oh, play spot, make money playing games.
Which one is that on?
I don't know. I think I just clicked on the advertisement for a $5 card. I don't understand how all this works. I'm just clicking on it.
We see it? Are you able to show me?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not even here yet. Okay, so play spots, money make playing game. Go up a little bit. Let me see what the thing is. It just says Google.
Yeah, Google Play.
Okay, well try that because I've never seen that one.
All
And then
right.
refer me because I try to do all the ones that make money to see how it works out.
I don't know how to send it to you.
Just once you get it going, then it will. Once you open the app, let me know when you do that, and I'll go through it with you and see if there's a place. Because some of them they don't have requests, but some of them do. It's usually in the settings.
All right. Well, all it's doing is sending me to a thing for another game. Basically, it's wanting me to download it to download something else. Let me try this million steps challenge thing.
And that came off of the scratching or the.
Yeah, that came off of the game that you sent me to. Million Steps
so the
Challenge.
Advertisement, then I would just exit out the advertisement. Once after 30 seconds, it'll have the X at the top, so you don't have to click on it, and it'll just exit you out of it to where you get back to your game.
All right, I'm trying to do the Million Steps Challenge. I'll probably have to type it in.
Yeah, once you open that app, once you type that and open it in, then it starts immediately. I think you have to connect to your Facebook where it can save.
Million Steps app link.
I gotta let you go, Mike. The soldier needs me. I'll call you back.
Yes, ma'am. Be safe.
Right,
I don't know. Close.